desert is really challenging.
Yeah, the climate here is really exciting to farm. It can have really drastic temperature swings. You know, at night it will be 25, during the day it can be 90.
In this climate, there's not a lot of room for error. The temperature just spikes so much and during the day that as soon as anything starts looking wilty, you could be too late.
So we receive 11 inches of precipitation annually, which comes predominantly in the forms of snowfall in the winter.
2 or 3 o'clock, the afternoon desert wind starts, and it's just a daily thing that blows every day. It does a really good job of drying everything out.
Frost can happen at any time.
Last frost in May and our first frost in August. So that's like a 3-month season.
It's almost impossible to grow here without any season extension or any tunnels. You also have to have shade cloth or some equivalent. You have to have a lot of row cover. So it's really expensive to start a farm in the high desert.
Yeah. Water conservation is everything in Central Oregon.
Water situation in Klamath Falls is pretty extreme. Last year, nobody got any irrigation water. It's become pretty apparent that I need to be really intentional about my irrigation systems and methods and have a little bit more data behind what I'm doing. I need to do everything I can as far as my soil management practices to conserve the water that I do receive. I had been doing no-till for the past 4 years. It's hard to know if it's really making a difference, and I was making a lot of decisions based on sticking my finger in the soil and making my best guess. Really looking for some more data behind my decisions to see how it was really impacting the soil water retention. I also wanted to see what other farmers east of the Cascades were doing. It can be pretty isolating to be farming vegetables in the high desert, so it's always good to talk to each other and share methods, especially when we're going to be facing more drought in the future. I wrote a SARE farmer rancher grant to see what impacts no and low-till practices had on water retention. With the grant, we established a cohort of 5 small-scale vegetable farms east of the Cascades to serve as case studies, and each farm received soil water tension sensors and a weather station. They each chose 2 different bed prep methods to test that were either no or low-till, plus a tillage method, and in each of those beds buried sensors at 3 different depths. We used watermark sensors, which measure water tension, and soil water tension indicates how hard the plant root has to work to extract water from the soil. So a low sensor reading tells you it's not working very hard and the soil is saturated, and a high reading means the soil is dry. My data showed that just overall throughout the whole season, the no-till bed did hold moisture the best.
So we noticed some differences right off the bat with the sensor readings. With the tilled bed, it was definitely the first one to start showing readings and drying out.
Main takeaway is how surprised I was by the low sensor readings early in the season. Up until August, the numbers were always really low. It made me water less than I normally would.
Data that we got from the sensors was really interesting this year. We were actually measuring the sensors through having drought water cutoffs and determining our irrigation schedule based on that. Instilled a lot of confidence in us over the summer, especially in the heat waves where it's over 100 degrees and we have no water in the pond and no irrigation for days.
And so with the tensiometers, having those readings gave me the confidence to not then go and put unnecessary water on these crops that I didn't need.
The tensiometers, the weather station, doing these experiments and no-till, all those things are making me be more conscientious about what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, and I do think that that makes me a better grower.
The learning process of how they work how they read and the data that we can get from them is very powerful, especially growing here in this extreme high desert climate. So just having that extra set of data, the eyes below the ground, basically.
I really like having these sensors, and I will definitely use them in the future. They made me a lot more intentional about my irrigation decisions, made me more observant. You know, in the middle of the season when you're really busy, a lot of times you just kind of fall back on a standard watering system. I wonder if I can be a little bit more intentional and vary my irrigation practices. I will continue to use the sensors in my production. I'll probably use them in different beds throughout the season, or I'll choose like one crop per season to really keep track of. But I think it's going to make a really big difference in how I irrigate in the future and just how I understand my crop water needs.